welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is
Phil Parrish.
Hey, Phil. So, news of the week. Let's see here. What is the news of the week? There was some. It's hard to call this news, but we did get the announcement from our good friends at Netflix that we're getting a Punisher series.
Yes.
Which is about as much news as finding out that Donald Trump is getting the presidential nomination. Not the election. He's not winning that. Hopefully. Hopefully. But it's news. It's news. But I think this is something we all expected, right, Phil?
Yeah, I think they were talking about it even like when Daredevil season 2 first came out. They were saying there were rumors at least that there was a Punisher series in the works.
Yeah. Now I am not convinced this is a good idea. As I've said, I don't know if the Punisher works in a prolonged story. I think the Punisher as a supporting character is stronger than Punisher as an individual, although, there are a lot of people who like the Punisher, there's a cop biker gang in Newark called the Thug Riders International who have his death head symbol, so he's a popular guy. Thug Riders, they're all cops. They have their own little motorcycle club,
but I mean,
they're cool.
They could have more than him just killing guys too. I mean, you could have flashbacks that hit him and his family, him in the military. Then Then we got that Easter egg of microchip. You bring in microchip and all,
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yeah, I mean, there is stuff you could do, and honestly, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I read Punisher War Journal. I enjoyed Punisher War Journal. Mm-hmm. I can see how the conceit can work for a season, and that's the great thing about Netflix is you only need one season.
Yeah.
They don't have to have the Punisher have 6 seasons. It's something you can do. The problem with the Punisher is that, either the Punisher only kills mobsters or he starts attacking supervillains. And, at a certain point you do realize how outclassed he could be. But, no, I think for one season it's going to be solid as a rock. And so that's some pretty cool news this week in the Marvel Comics universe. Now, in the actual Marvel Comics universe, did you see the promo for Mosaic?
I don't believe I did.
Okay, so this has been the new teaser from Marvel the last couple of days. They've been giving one puzzle piece at a time. Different puzzle pieces that, form a cover. A cover of, which is going to be apparently of New Inhumans number 11. Mm-hmm. And the question is, who is Mosaic? Where is Mosaic? What is Mosaic? And what I think Mosaic most likely is as they have suggested, that the core of the Civil War conflict is that there is a new Inhuman who has come to being who can see crime before it happens. Mm-hmm. With some sort of astounding accuracy, because apparently not only are they able to see the future, of which not the first person to be able to do that, but that I'm guessing with some level of accuracy that gives you pause. Like, it's not like Destiny seeing something, and it's not the vagaries of various, zodiac prognostications as we've seen. But this is something that's a little deeper, a little more solid, and a little more real. And I'm guessing the idea is Mosaic puts the pieces together to see what the future will hold. Which is interesting, taking a snapshot of the omniverse as it exists at this moment and extrapolating its next point is cool. What struck me as interesting is that when they're putting when and CBR was putting all these pieces up, and they described it as, so Spider-Man's part of this Mosaic storyline, and because it's Marvel Universe, so Spider-Man's going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah,
and they were debating, is this Scarlet Witch, because it was like red on her face, but no, it's not. But what struck me is when they put in the second to last piece, and they didn't comment. I looked at it and I said, "Oh, that's the Future Foundation." There was because I saw clearly Franklin Richards, Bentley 23, and Kiyomi, who is the girl from Wakanda, who are like the three core members of the Future Foundation, aside from the Moloids or the offshoot Atlanteans from Antarctica. They're interesting we'll get into that later.
So wait, you think everybody's favorite bomb Happy Fool's coming back?
Well, at least his son is.
Yeah.
Or I think that maybe Mosaic sees that as part of it. It's an interesting aspect in all this. When we were reading The Ultimates, he makes the point in that, Owen Reese, that he did a favor for an old friend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the early implication in that is, the old friend was Victor Von Doom. But what if the old friend wasn't Victor Von Doom? What if the favor for the old friend was Frank from Beyond? As I said, I'm sorry.
I thought maybe you were going to say Reed Richards. I was going to say, is everyone going to find out that maybe Reed put the universe back or the multiverse back the way it's mostly supposed to be, but he tweaked it a little bit?
Well, here's the thing. There's an interesting bit of fan theory out there. I had to find the website again, but basically, it basically compares the current Marvel Universe to the episode of Twilight Zone called The Good Life, where Billy Mooney is the Omega level mutant who basically sends everyone to the cornfield when they displease him, and it's a nice little piece, but it struck me recently that, ironically, this is the truth of the Marvel Universe, that now this Marvel Universe is actually absolutely created by Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards imagines the universe and puts it into existence. Because, when Franklin Richards imagines a universe into existence, nothing bad ever happens from that, right?
Oh, no.
Right, Phil? That's never been a bad thing when Franklin Universe makes a little blue marble in which a universe is held. That always works out just as we had hoped, right?
Well, at least it only lasts a year.
Franklin. Please, I really don't want Marvel to get into the DC. You don't like a current reboot? Don't worry. It's only... we're going to rebirth it again next month. Don't worry. If you don't like that one, we'll just reboot it again. Oh, DC. What is wrong with you? It's like, at a certain point, you're looking at them, it's like you do have writers who work there, right? You do have people who understand the concept of story and how story needs to build from previous experience. You can't just glue it all to the wall and say, there, it's a picture. It's not how it works. Anyway, although I did like Secret Six this week, so we'll say that much for it. So, DC doesn't do all things bad, just Starfire they ruined.
More than that.
Yeah, right now I'm at a 3-issue rule with DC, which is that I hope that I can stand the third issue of a book I read. So far, it's not working. But I'm only on issue 2 with the other couple of books I read, and anyway, moving right along. So that is the interesting. So that's the most recent news from Marvel. The other news from Marvel is that apparently Civil War is a good film. Yeah, which we talked about last week, but it's doing very well in across the world. Although it's this weird thing to me, because I wonder, like tickets really cheap for movies in like London or something. It's like it's made $40 million worldwide, and it's European release. I'm like, really? That's it?
But is it like a limited release, or is it only like in London or something, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to assume it's there's got to be some limitation to it, because they're like talking it up like it's really impressive. I'm like, really?
Well, it might have just opened today or yesterday or today too. So
yeah, it was just opened this week. It just opened this week. So
but yeah, I'm thinking it's just within the last day or two. Also.
Yeah, but it's doing very well, and good for it. And I do think it's going to be a fantastic film. And as I said, it's going to make the point to DC that you made a lot of money, but you left a lot of money on the table by not having a good story. And they are saying that like the R-rated directors, it's like, listening to the idea of the R-rated, it's like, like that was what was missing from this, was blood and breasts or bad language. It's like, no, that's not what hurt the film. It wasn't that there wasn't enough violence in it, or wasn't enough sex in it, or wasn't enough language in it. What hurt Batman v Superman was not enough story. And apparently they are giving us more story. It's going to be a 3-hour tour of the DC universe, and we all know how that turns out when the weather starts getting rough. It's going to be a 3-hour epic, which means the one redeeming quality of the film, which was that it ended, is now gone.
I can't even see you, but I know you did the air quotes. I saw you say epic.
Yes. No, it's just like, okay, well, and maybe it's going to be better. Maybe we're going to get a lot of that backstory that we got cheated out of in this episode, in this movie. It's just like, here's what I'm going to say. If you wanted to release a 3-hour movie, you should have released a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Because, that's the thing. It's not like everyone's going to go, oh, I don't want to sit through 3 hours. It's like, we're sitting through 2 hours,
2.5, yeah.
2.5, yeah. So you're giving us another 30 minutes. Yeah, we can hold it for that long. Or give us a pee break halfway through, do an intermission. They used to do those all the time. And let's all go to the lobby.
Yeah, with like an extra half hour, you could have put more story in there. So maybe people would have been like, oh, okay, that's why they did that. Or,
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do that, though. And that's what I come back to in this. I don't think those story scenes were shot.
Yeah, no, it's too late now.
Yeah, I just don't think they shot him. I don't think that there's stuff that wound up on the cutting room floor that was actually important. Yeah. I think they just never shot.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. It's probably in the script, but they never shot it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a stage direction, Mm-hmm. It's like Bruce Wayne looks at the, fallen Robin's uniform, thinks back to that night when Robin died, pauses for a moment, then moves on. It's like, yes, but what happened that night? Because that was kind of important. Although, speaking of that, someone actually had a very interesting theory, because the people who produced Batman v Superman posted an item on April 27th that said 20 years ago that it's been 20 years for Batman since that night, and posted that image of Batman looking at Robin's uniform. And what happened 20 years ago on April 27th, Phil? Do you know?
Wait, you mean in the real world?
Well, in our universe, yes. What happened 20 years ago?
Let's see.
It would have been 1996.
Yeah.
April 27th. Someone passed away.
Oh, was it Bob Kane?
No, Jason Todd.
Wait, what? 96?
I believe, yeah. Or maybe they said it was
They killed off Jason Todd. It was in '88 because it was the year before right before the first Michael Keaton Batman.
Anyway, so maybe they said 30 years. Maybe they said 30 years then. Maybe. But the point was is that they released it on April 27th. They gave the length of time, and it was it was 30 years ago, April 20. On April 27th, they actually showed a screen capture from the book that shows Jason Todd's death certificate, which was 1986, April 27th. Jason Todd, killed by Joker, which led to this suggestion that has been said that in the Suicide Squad, we're going to find out that Joker isn't the original Joker. That Joker is Jason Todd. Mm-hmm. And there was other things that have been released, where someone points out that there's apparently a bird tattoo on all of the Joker's tattoos. One of them is a bird, which someone says could be a robin. And of course, there's this image of the Joker holding a battle staff, much like the battle staff we see the Robin costume holding. And of course, there are, as pointed out, there are the wound marks on the Joker that correspond to wound marks on the Robin costume that we've seen. So that seems to be the hinting. That is not Zack Snyder's official statement, though. And it's this is an interesting thing because that goes into the whole other bit of news in the DC universe, which is that they're giving Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns free reign on their Batman story, which to me says ignore everything Zack Snyder did. That stuff is dead to us. Tell us a good story, Batman. Tell us a good story, Ben Affleck. Because I get the feeling after this, especially, and I guarantee you after Civil War comes out and they just lap Batman v Superman, like, make a patsy out of him. I think DC's going to be like, Zack,
you're fired.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Zack because I do think the man is a fantastic visual storyteller. I just think he needs better writers.
Yeah.
I don't. That's the thing with Zack Snyder. I don't blame him because he doesn't write these. It's not like Zack Snyder wrote that film.
Yeah.
I mean, he may have done some tweaking on the script, but he didn't write that film. And he's just the guy who gets a film and he can make a really beautiful visual epic from that film. He will make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but at the end of the day, you're still giving him a sow's ear to make that silk purse out of, And so it's unfortunate that Zack will get the brunt of that. Josh Trank deserves the blunt of that because that was fully his own failure. But yeah, and of course, rumors are circulating again that Marvel and Fox are making a deal on the Fantastic Four and maybe even a deal on the X-Men of a shared universe existence. I'm not holding my breath on that.
Do you think they're seeing how much money Sony's set to make with Marvel that maybe Fox is like, well,
here's the thing. If Marvel makes that deal with Fox, as I think it's entirely possible they can make the deal, because it doesn't hurt anyone to make the deal. If they do, it's not going to be the X-Men we've already seen. It's not going to be the Fox it's not going to be the Fantastic Four we've already seen. Because, and we see that with Sony. Because, Feige came out this week and said, oh no, we're in charge of Homecoming. We're in charge of, basically, yeah, Sony's producing it, but we're in charge. We're the guys in charge of Homecoming. We're the guys in charge of Spider-Man from now on. And of course, again, that's their point, is that we're in charge of story. And as I've said for the longest time, that's all Marvel wants. That's all Disney Marvel wants. They don't care about, how much money the freaking movie makes. I mean, it's good, to make money on a movie, but your money in T-shirt sales.
They want the creative control.
Well, they want the creative control because that's their brand.
Yes.
And that's, and that's the problem with Batman v Superman is that it's like, there's the very classic tale about why we got, Batman and Robin after what was it, Batman Forever, with Catwoman and Penguin, which was that, they're trying to make this this movie that they can sell Happy Meal toys with, and they have the Penguin vomiting like black bile on people, in this movie. It's like, Tim Burton went in a very different direction than something that works for Happy Meal toys. Although at the same time, it was still very cartoony. I mean, they could have done a lot of good Happy Meal toys, but it was a slightly darker take. Although nothing compared to freaking Dark Knight take on it. I mean, honestly, I think right now a lot of people are like, yeah, we love that jovialness of the the first two Tim Burton Batmans. that sweet, 1960s Batman sensibility of it, because of course, and it does tie very closely to the 1960s Batman in its own reimaginings, in the way I think that really Gotham ties itself back to that 1960s, in its own weird way. It's that darker, grittier take on it, but it still has that comic book conceit, the inherent silliness of the creations that I think tie back to it. But that's my take on that. I don't know, but I definitely think that that Marvel is, and I think Marvel would love to get all the characters back, at least under the creative control, because as I said, their money is going to be in the T-shirts, their money is in the toys, their money is in all the ancillaries that they sell, because these things are popular, because every single freaking, vinyl pop Deadpool you buy, that's money to Marvel. That's not money to Fox. Fox doesn't get a dime out of that. That's all Marvel's money. So when you buy, so as popular as Deadpool is, Marvel isn't crying over that, because that's selling my 6-year-old son who can't even see the movie. It's giving them an excuse to make Deadpool toys that my 6-year-old son is going to want to buy and play with.
Oh yeah.
Because in fact, the toys, who cares if the movies are rated? The toys aren't R-rated, But it's presented in a delightful enough way that you can sell the toys,
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't show my 3-year-old that Deadpool movie, but if I show him a picture of Deadpool, it's automatic. Deadpool.
Yeah, of course, because he's bright red and he's like Spider-Man, but with guns, and that's even better. Oh man, yeah, but that's what Marvel wants, and so I think we could certainly see Marvel getting those rights back, or at least working out some deal after we see how Spider-Man does, because that's the test case. If Spider-Man sells it, then I think if Spider-Man makes Sony a lot of money, I think everyone's getting back to it, and of course, it has been confirmed that although we've lost Michael Keaton, we've lost Batman in the Spider-Man film, we are getting Tony Stark.
Yes.
And of course, my question in this is, where does the Homecoming film take place? Does it take place before Civil War or after Civil War? I got really annoyed at someone online today about Civil War, because something not even about... Because I'm on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Facebook page, or fans of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or some Facebook page that I'm a fan of, that and there was a scene in the last episode where Coulson pulls out his Captain America cards, and so I had commented on it. I made a little joke about that you could see Coulson's blood on the cards, and how dang it, how much that must have annoyed Coulson, because these were like near mint condition cards, and then Coulson and then Fury just smeared his blood on them for no reason. They were in his locker, nice and safe, and then Fury went and messed up his dang near mint condition Captain America cards just to tick off Captain America and Iron Man. But anyway, so someone posts this thing and says, spoilers, then gives the spoiler. I'm not going to say what it was. Now, this guy might have been joking and being a jerk. This guy might have actually seen the film and was making a statement. The statement he made wasn't a shock to me, because it was what I had assumed would be the case. But at the same time, it was so annoying that someone was really in a thread not related to the Captain America movie, not related to anything, just threw a spoiler into it just to be a jerk. And I've actively been trying to avoid spoilers for this film. And it's like the first time I've ever really actively, and it kind of surprised me because normally I don't care about spoilers, but this time I was like, no, I really want to be surprised at what happens. I really don't want to know what's going to happen in this film, you know? And it was like, man, you know, even though it didn't spoil the film for me, it was like, what a jerk, you know? So kids out there, if you're listening to this and you get the urge to post, even if you're just posting, don't post, even as a joke, a spoiler, because it's rude, you know? It's freaking. Now when the movie comes out, we're going to do our spoiler podcast, and we're going to say it's a spoiler podcast. Long before we get into any of the spoilers, we're going to say it's a spoiler podcast, and turn this off if you haven't heard yet. But you know, when you just post it in the middle of something, it's not like you can necessarily, because like I said, the person said spoiler alert. But as far as I know, they're spoiler alerting the TV show episode I just saw. And then they make a statement about a film that no one's seen except for people in Europe yet. You know, it was an unconscionable amount of rudeness. That was my opinion. Another interesting point in the news. I'm trying to think of all the Marvel news because we did a little bit of Batman here. But so one thing that has come up is that the Inhumans have been taken off of the schedule again for Marvel. And people saying, well, this means that they're not going to do the Inhumans because they're already on TV, yada, yada, yada. And I think that is a fair assessment, perhaps. But it got me thinking, you know, over on the Enough Said podcast, Rob is always talking about the, and it annoys me every time he says it. He says, but remember the Inhumans are on the dark side of the moon. Now, of course, the Inhumans are in the blue area of the Attilan was moved to the blue area of the moon. Of course, Attilan used to be in the Himalayas because everything used to be in the Himalayas. Just making a statement there, it all used to be in the Himalayas. So, but you know, he makes the point. Oh, but you know, they're off on the dark side of the moon. But I was thinking, you know, because I was listening to the assessment of the most recent podcast, and they were talking about it, and I was thinking, you know, the end of this season has an agent in space. And here's a crazy thought. Every time that someone saw the death, it was always their own death, suggesting that the person that Daisy is seeing is herself. But if she's in space, and as Rob will say, the Inhumans are in the blue area of the moon, who's to say that's not who saves her? And the reason we're not going to get a Inhumans film is because they're going to build the Inhumans into the TV universe. Because let's not forget, the TV universe can be Netflix. It can be any number of places.
Yes. And
they may just have decided, you know what? I know there is this idea that they want to keep the universes separate. I'm not necessarily certain. I always feel that that's something that people always try to codify things and to limit things. And I don't think they're working from that perspective at Disney. I think they're looking at it as we have this expanded universe, and the Inhumans are a complex concept. And what is even an Inhuman movie? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe the idea of Inhumans maybe even works better in a serial format. Either, you know, you introduce them here, maybe that's going to drive some people to Netflix, or we're going to do a separate Inhuman series about the rebuilding of the Inhuman Empire with Medusa and Black Bolt.
Or Charlie, what if, as we were speaking about before, what if there are secret talks with Fox and they're saying, whoa, let's hold up. Let's take the Inhumans movie off the schedule and see if we get Fantastic Four back. And then the Inhumans can be in the Fantastic Four.
Well, you know what? That was actually an interesting concept in this because, you know, it's always interesting about rights issues. Because having the Inhumans in the Marvel Universe was always kind of a weird thing to some people, because, of course, the Inhumans 100% come from the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And so that may be an idea that they're taking it off because they want to use the Inhumans are going to be part of the Fantastic Four story if they get to do that. And that might be interesting. And as an other interesting idea, there is, as I've said, this other secondary concept that, that the Inhumans are just one of the space alien interfered with humanoid supermen that exist in the Marvel Universe. The other are the Eternals. And of course, they've already introduced Thanos, who is an Eternal. They call him Thanos of Titan. He's been introduced as Thanos of Titan. But what they haven't said in the series, but that we all, in the movies that we all know as readers of the comic books, is that the Titan they're referring to is the moon of Saturn or the moon of Jupiter that is Titan, which has a nitrogen-based atmosphere. That is where those Eternals are from, not from some planet called Titan. He is Thanos of Titan of the Sol solar system, and we have seen the Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy. There was a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy, wielding the Power Stone.
Even Nowhere is the head of it, Celestial.
Yeah, exactly. So, and those were the people who created the Eternals, and then the Inhumans are just the secondary version of that. So it raises this idea that yes, you have Thanos of Titan, and we have these other Eternals out there too. So they could just as easily start throwing in some Eternals. They could, you could have the Forgotten Ones show up. Another great role for Lou Ferrigno. That was actually one of the things I was talking to a friend about, or actually the guy at my comic book shop about Legends of Tomorrow, which is that, they have all these characters that they can't use because their effects are too expensive. They have Firestorm there, but they can only use Firestorm every so often for a few minutes because it costs a lot of money every time they put Firestorm in there, because he's this CGI heavy character. The same thing with Hawkgirl, or Hawkman. Every time they pull out the wings, it's a big thing. And I was saying, they would have been much smarter to throw Solomon Grundy into the mix, hire Lou Ferrigno to play Solomon Grundy, paint him gray. He's up for that. He's fine. Pretty much the guy does a lot of roles in body paint. When he was Steel John or Iron John, they painted him silver, so he's not above that anymore. He's cool with that. And they could have painted him gray, put him in a suit, and given him a speaking role even. He would have loved that. Be Solomon Grundy as one of the Legends of Tomorrow. And you get your Superman character, your character with amazing power that can basically defeat anyone, but you don't have to have him be on fire, and you get to save some money, it's like, but I know they wanted to use all characters they'd already introduced in the Flash storylines, and they needed to have some more heroes, I guess, was their thinking. So they couldn't just have it be all villains. They couldn't have, Captain Cold and Solomon Grundy and Heatwave. Yeah, you had to have more heroes, I guess. But I'm just saying it's an obvious choice to me now that if I was doing Legends of Tomorrow, I would have put Solomon Grundy in there. But but then again, I also would have just loved to have Lou Ferrigno on TV again. But anyway, last thought I wanted to talk about, getting back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Brent Dalton recently had an interesting interview where he was talking about his role of Hive. And one of the things that he said that was very interesting, he said that Ward was in Hive, pushing Hive towards things. Like, that's why Hive got Daisy.
Yeah.
Because Ward was still in there and Ward was pushing Hive towards that. And it gave me two basic thoughts on this. The first thought is, everyone thinks that, Hive is in control, and he just has all these people's memories. But if you think about it, Hive is one being, and he has hundreds of other human voices in his head now. So how powerful is really Hive as just one of those many, many voices anymore? And are the more recent voices really the more powerful ones? So that because Ward is the most recent voice, Ward is in control much more than even Hive.
Well, maybe that's always the case. Whoever the most recent voice is has like most of the control.
Well, yeah, and I think that we saw that with Will coming out with Ward,
Yes.
And of course, then just before Will was, of course, what's his name's brother, Malik's brother.
Malik, yeah.
Those are the three voices we've really seen taking strong stances, and those are all three people who were very recent into the Hive. The freshest memories, the most powerful memories. And it also made for this interesting idea I had, what if they can rid Ward of Hive? And this idea, they say, Ward is dead. And maybe Ward is dead. But what happens if you kill Hive? And this was this interest, let us say that Simmons finds a way to reverse Terrigenesis. And let's say they expose Ward to this. Now, that means that Hive loses his powers. But what happens to Hive? What happens to Ward? If essentially this being comes out of it, this Ward being comes out of it, but is basically alive because, all the repairs have been done to his body. But who Ward was gets lost, or he just has these memories of 1,000 lifetimes, but he's no longer the Hive.
Well, that kind of works with something I was thinking about. It's like, okay, whether it's Ward come back to life or whether it's Hive, but either way, if whoever's in control of that body loses their memory and say, okay, so it's a clean slate character, could we see, whoever's in that body on the team again next season? Because say whoever it is has the physical memories, knows how to fight, maybe even has a few powers, but all the evil intent is gone because all those memories are gone.
Well, I'll do you along those same lines. But did you ever see the episode of Futurama where Fry eats the sandwich with worm eggs?
No, but I think I've heard of this.
Okay, so basically what happens is Fry gets these parasites, gets these worms in him. But rather than being negative towards him, the worms start improving his body because, hey, they live there. So they fix his body, they make him stronger, they make him physically more adept, and they make his brain much smarter because they're reconnecting all his neurons in just the right way. So let's say that Ward is like Fry in this. Ward has been upped by all of the worms. And then they flush the worms out of Ward's body. Now he's got this super advanced brain that can hold 1,000 lifetimes of memory, but it's been wiped. So he doesn't have a memory, but anything he sees, maybe he can learn real fast. And then maybe Ward becomes the Taskmaster. Because we've reverse engineered that photographic reflexes power to him by having him have the worm brain upgrade, while at the same time giving him the basic memory problem that it now defines Taskmaster, that he doesn't even know what his past is. So maybe he's on the team, maybe he forgets he's on the team, maybe he goes to another team, which leads to another question about Captain America Civil War that I'm wondering about. Now, I have suggested the possibility that Bucky dies, but not really, because maybe Bucky dies and then they unfreeze Jack Monroe. It's an interesting concept to me. As I've said, that the Russo brothers had stated when they first got when they first got Winter Soldier, that they were reading the Two Americans story. And this story opens up with the death of Peggy Carter. Now, what plot line in the actual Cap storyline opened up with the death of Peggy Carter? But the return of William Burnside. Because just before Peggy Carter dies, William Burnside is back and is getting all of the information on Cap from William Burnside. This was during the Bucky Cap era, just after Civil War. And so when Bucky is Cap, then all of a sudden William Burnside shows up, and he's saying, no, I'm Cap, and I have all of Cap's memories, because he talked to Peggy Carter to get all of Cap's history. And I'm imagining, they said there's 2 post-credit scenes. I'm imagining one of these scenes is going to be Chris Evans being a little twitchy with Thunderbolt Ross next to him, waking up Jack Monroe, who's played by Sebastian Stan. And maybe we're going to get some hints at what's going on. Maybe we're not. But I got to wonder if that's going to be where they're going with this. Is this – because I really – I think it's too tempting in this not to approach it. This idea that there was a Captain America. And then the other thing that I'm thinking is that we're going to get at the end of this the idea of the Thunderbolts. Because remember, Zemo is a character in this. He's not playing as a Nazi, even if he has the Hydra backing. This is Helmet Zemo, that guy named after a hat who wasn't very good at his job in the Standoff storyline. But what if the idea is that after all of the Sokovia Accords and everything, that we're going to have this new reformed, the reformed Hammer under Thunderbolt Ross, but with Zemo on the Security Council, and Zemo says to Ross, and here's my suggestion, we don't need Avengers, let's have Thunderbolts. Because we're going to name him after you, Thunderbolt Ross. Your own team of super soldiers, led by Captain America. Can't you just see that? Wouldn't that be awesome? Yes. I got to think this isn't the case, because I got to believe that a spoiler that sweet would have made it out by now, that I wouldn't have been able to avoid it. But I mean, if I was running the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's how I would be ending Civil War, without a doubt. Zemo as head of Hammer, with Thunderbolt Ross leading his own team of Thunderbolts. And it's all 50s Cap, 50s Bucky, and a crew of ne'er-do-wells, perhaps including the Abomination, perhaps including the Leader, perhaps including Moonstone, because you can just throw her in there. Why not? She's got a Kree artifact. And the Fixer, because you don't have to say that these guys used to be the Beetle. You can work it all out. Although Spider-Man's in here, so we can use those Spider-Man villains now, can't we?
Yeah.
I forget who was it Mach 5 who was the Beetle, or was Fixer the Beetle?
Oh, Mach 5
Mach
or
5,
whatever he is now.
5. Yeah. He's going to be Mach X in the new one. Mach 10, I guess, is actually what that works out to be. And who is Fixer?
When he was in the Thunderbolts, he went by Techno, but that was the fix. As the villain, he was the Fixer.
Oh, he was always the Fixer? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was he a villain of?
Did he? I don't know if didn't he face Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. early on?
Okay. Well, maybe. Okay. Well, there you go. So, but then there you go. You can just slip the Fixer right in there,
Mm-hmm.
He's your tech genius. And, Mach 5 or Mach 10, and, with his own armor that looks like an Iron Man armor, but it's kind of like, got the big wings. It works, man. It is all really cool. Atlas as because if we get a giant Ant-Man, slipping Atlas in there with his with the Pym particles that got out to Hydra at the end of Ant-Man, you can have Atlas. You can make the Thunderbolts in there. It is so easy.
Hey, they're setting the stage, because they introduced the Thunderbolts on the Avengers Assemble cartoon. So
yeah, well, but that's the idea.
Yeah, they're setting the stage.
Yeah, well, but that's why Marvel is kicking Warner's butt on this.
Yes.
Because Marvel sets the stage, and they're willing to have an underperformer here and there because it's not about the movie. That's the thing that I think that's what I think that DC doesn't understand that Marvel does. That it's not about the movie. The movie is just a 2-hour commercial for a toy and a cartoon and a T-shirt,
Marvel's willing to lose a battle here and there, but they win the war.
Exactly. Well, because that's how you win a war.
Yes.
You lose a battle here and there, but you win a war. There's the possibly apocryphal, but my favorite tale is of at the Paris Peace Accords when they're negotiating the end of the Vietnam War. And a general approaches a Vietnamese general and says, "Just so you know, you guys never once beat us on the battlefield." And the Vietnamese general says, "That is as true as it is irrelevant." Because that's what it is. It's as true as it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter who won the box office. It's about who has built their universe. And DC decided they were just going to, from pure alchemy, build a universe. And it fell apart. Hopefully they're going to be able to redeem it with Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman and Batfleck the movie. I'm hoping Batfleck the movie actually takes place as a prequel so that we get maybe what the backstory is of Batman. But we'll see what they decide to do. They may be able to fix it so they can do it as an ongoing tale. But I would like to see Ben Affleck without the gray in his hair for 5 minutes, because Batman shouldn't look like Reed Richards. I don't know. Although one thing I am interested in seeing is Super Sons with Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. That looks like it's going to be a good book. I'm really, of all the Rebirth titles, that's one I'm going to say, I'm getting that. I'm getting, 8-year-old Superman with torn jeans, Or maybe they're like, I don't know how old they're supposed to be, maybe 10, 13-year-old.
I was going to say, I know Damien's like 10, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So they're clearly little kids. It's that's the thing with comic book artists. Again, it's like Agatha Harkness, Sharon Carter. Yeah, Oh God, it's like there are people who aren't 20.
Yeah.
Get an artist who can figure out how you draw a person in adolescence. An actual teen to be on the Teen Titans, Oh, but yeah, I'm looking. It may be awful, but I'm looking forward to the Damian Wayne, Jonathan Kent, and I'm guessing that's Jonathan Kent, who's the son of Lois and Clark from the previous universe, correct?
They haven't confirmed it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who that has to be.
Yeah, because the new one is new Casual Friday Superman. He's not been around that long, so
yeah, he doesn't have any kids. Yeah.
DC. Maybe to some extent, my constant complaint about them not having an explanation page, maybe is to their advantage because it was like, it's really too complicated to try and explain exactly where we got here,
Yeah, it'd be like 3 pages.
Yeah, I did read up on the Secret Six, and now I know exactly who the new ventriloquist is. And she's awesome. She's like Carrie, which is actually kind of cool. She's like psychic. Because it was weird when I was reading the new Secret Six. I'm like, wait, the dummy is walking? How is the dummy walking? And then I found out, she's actually telekinetic, and that's her whole thing. Is she's actually like super powerful telekinetic, but she's like focusing it all on the dummy, on Ferdy. And it's like, okay, she's crazy powerful Carrie Jean Grey. So she's Jean Grey, but like more psychologically messed up. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. And I'll get into a whole thing with that and about DC's idea that what DC thinks that lesbians do. It's like, they just lie naked in bed together all day, right? That's a legitimate scene to have our lesbian characters in this scene doing, right? Right? Keep it classy, DC. Keep it classy. Stay classy. Okay. I think that is. Oh wow, we're at an hour on Superconnectivity this week after 2 hours of.
Yeah.
So let's call this a night, my friend. Phil, if they would like to talk to you, ask why we can't shut up, even just for a moment, how can they write to you, Phil?
If you want to know where to send payment to me and Charlie Esser for the ton of content this week, you can email me nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp. Instagram, I started a new Tumblr. It's all Nightwing PDP. Check it out.
Yes, and of course, if you'd like to write to me, you can always do so in the old-fashioned emaily way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And tweet along with me as I watch The Incredible Hulk, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., occasionally Legends of Tomorrow, or some other show, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And that's our show this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you connect with us again next week. Thank you.